And it's a welcome good evening again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Logistical Nightmare Racing Tuesday night GT4 Championship. Man, Nürburgring. That's all I have. That's all I know at this present moment. We have Nürburgring wet is what I'm going with. And I'll be honest, I didn't expect it to be this wet, but some of the reason it is massively wet. Looking at the man that actually did phenomenally well last week, H. Mayer, who smashed it out of the ballparks. Well, I'll go 50% smashed it out of the ballparks last week. With the Monza race this week, we've got, as I said, Nürburgring excruciatingly wet. Looking at the Porsche, even struggling coming out of the pit lane at the moment. Now, of course, as we are all well aware and adverse that these tires would need a bit of a warm-up. But having even said that, I mean, there is everyone this evening. 8 minutes, 10 minutes of qualifying. In all fairness, plenty of things happening. New update that I've been keeping an eye out for, so I am pleasantly sure that everyone has gotten their fingers all over the 2023 pack, which seems to have brought us a new car, 2 of them, and a track. So I can imagine the magmounts of individuals out there, communities and all that, that's gonna go haywire and ballistic over the next couple of weeks, running that new track day in and day out. So that is quite eventful. Couple of fixes came in this afternoon, so I hope everyone that is racing today did do their update. And then of course simultaneously, oh geez, now I completely forgot what I wanted to say. That slipped my mind. I'll get back to that. So update went mad, update's crazy. GT4 this week, 13 drivers on the current track at the moment. Of course, keeping an eye out on Mayer at this stage. Now that's only because he was the first man out the box. He's going to probably set his preliminary for the moment. Again, a good 7 minutes still to go. I just got to make sure I got all my settings and all those lovely things right. So that even when things do occur, I can catch it at the spur of the moment and then just review where we sit at. Of course, let's run through the track, boys. So Mayer is here, and even from a championship point of view, where are we with these championships? Standings at the present moment for the GT3. Fleming Bauer is the guy in the lead. He's got 200 points, and now he's followed by Alan Patterson. Now, surprise, that doesn't surprise me, but that is an immaculate start for Alan Patterson, who I believe has had a season championship win at Logistical Nightmare. Then, of course, we have Sean Skitter in 3rd place. I haven't seen Skitter this evening on track, so he is missing it out this evening. Mayer we have had a good look at. Graham Moll, out of the box, didn't do fantastic last week, but he's currently sitting in 5th place in the championship. Boy, he's not far off that 4th. I reckon if he does a good race today, he's potentially in there for a 3rd. So ranking up the points in the chart, then he's followed by Mr. Null. Is it correct? No, Duplessis, sorry. Duplessis and his Aston Martin, currently in 6th place. Then of course Janneman. I can't find. There we go in the Mercedes. The only man in the Mercedes in 7th. Kel van der Berg in 8th. Chris De Santos in 9th. And then Steven Kernig is 10th. So those are your top 10 based on standings at the present stage. From a championship point of view, this week we've got Nürburgring. Next week we're of course going all the way to Alton Park. Now, what did the event individuals brought us in for Alton Park? Again, a 2x20 sprint race. So Alton Park will be sprint race, and then we're going to close this season off with Laguna Seca. And Laguna Seca is going to be another 45-minute race. So not massive races from a GT4 standpoint. 14 individuals on the track. Deploy the man at the moment, kicking it off with his fantastic qualifying time there with the Burger King sponsored Alpine. I don't know why I said Alpine. I gotta admit, when these boys practice, I've been looking at this Alpine with the Burger King logo, and I just couldn't get my eyes off it. It just looks phenomenal. It just grabs you and wants you to continuously look at it. Now, he's currently the crowd favorite at Nürburgring, setting up the pace. Now, of course, he's up again with his time by about 8 tenths coming down the straight. And he's got 2 more massive corners to navigate through. This, of course, the trickiest S's by far. Doesn't seem to have lost any delta there. Hardly gained a bit there. All about exit speed here in the final corner. Looks fantastic for him. It looks like he's going to gain at least another second on that time. Phenomenal brought to him. Did he? Does he? No? Ah, that was a 210 though. 210.562 was his best. He was up by a second there. So I guess he potentially missed it out by cutting the track a bit. Based on delta, it looked like he was on for it. A. Wilson here in a Porsche. Haven't seen Ashley driving in a long time. He is up by 2 tenths on his delta. He's going to certainly put it up there in 4th at the moment. Porsche looking good. So does Mayer. So does De Santos. No Skitty this week, so Skitty has got a missed race at the moment. Now again, Skitty got double podiums last week at Monza. That certainly gave him a big boost on points. Bauer, championship leader in 3rd with his Porsche. Now of course Bauer and Mayer running identical Porsches there with their purple liveries. These boys are quick off the draw, so I somehow suspect we are definitely going to see them take the race by storm. Neil Greening on the other hand really struggling this evening. Haven't actually put down a lap. Alan Patterson still struggling with his Aston. Strangely how an Aston would struggle in the rain though. I wouldn't foresee that in any given moment. Deploy up by 7 tenths again. He is the best in Sector 2 and Sector 3, whereas Mayer is vastly quicker in Sector 1. It just seems like that Alpine is planted this evening. No idea what he's got underneath that bonnet, but it is phenomenal. Hopefully this time it is a clean lap, because that based on delta is up by 9 tenths. There we go. 1 second of a gap. Deploy with the Alpine, putting it onto the scoreboard is what I would say. This is like a Liverpool Manchester United score base, like 5-0 at the present moment, just based on that time. He is quick. Other individuals is potentially taking the long game, yeah? Let's just see. I know we got a 45-minute race here. Is there any pit stop requirements here? pit stop counts, no. I don't have to do anything. So literally race for 45 minutes. Ha! No strategic plans. Probably just rain all the time, which is a shock. I mean, that's definitely not what anyone would have wanted. Boys on the stream, so we got Shaka there, Frankie there, and Jazz rooting on for their individual drivers. So again, to you gents, welcome, good evening. Again, as we are in the final time frame, does look like the Ploy is definitely going to take pole position. Now Bullion has creeped up a bit with his Janetta then. We saw was phenomenal last week in the corner, but just didn't have the straight line speed to keep up with anything at Monza. Santos trying to improve on his time as well. And of course, he's only up by 2/10 at the present moment. That's not going to bring any favors to him unless he can really pull it off. Mayer on the other hand is also up by 2/10. Bauer down by a few seconds. At 2/10, 3/10 is not going to put a dent in deploy at the most stage. But it is certainly going to widen the gap between himself and Bauer. Brings it up to 7/10 slower than Paul. Bauer on the other hand still got a lot of work to do. Now Bullion is up by at least half a second. And that half a second will probably push him in to third. If he can keep it up. No, definitely lose time there based on Delta. He gave it up all back to the pit stop. That's now Bullion. Last man standing, Bauer. This is a fight for pride and prejudice. Bauer wants to be next to the grid there by the Ploy. See how hard is he working with that car, like nearly sliding through that corner. Tried to keep the momentum. It just didn't seem like he used all it. Oh, and time's up.
Watch out for curbs and exit, and remember to brake early.
Well, that's strange. Session starting. As we look at it from the rear end at the present stage, you can see the boys lining up from this side of the grid. At the back of the grid, we have naturally the broadcaster, but then let's talk about Kernick and his KTM, followed by Beekers in the BMW, Mole in his McLaren. Ahead of him in car number 7 on the opposite side, Art Duplessis in the Aston Martin. And of course we have Prius in the only Mercedes. Ahead of him we have Neil Greening, also running an Aston Martin. Then in 7th position we have A. Wilson in the Porsche. Ahead of him is Chris De Santos in the BMW car 501. Not a bad time set by him. No Bullion there. Ahead of him in the Janetta. And of course we have Bauer with his Porsches. This is now where the Porsches come to play. Oh wait, sorry, I forgot about Alan Patterson there. Alan Patterson in the Aston Martin. Bauer with the first Porsche, followed by Mayer, and then of course in your podium spot you have Christian. Is it Christian? It's Christian Deploy in the Alpine. That's your grid for this evening. Absolutely stunning. This is going to be phenomenal as they head off the start. Now again, this is warm-up lap. Still wet. Does indicate that it's gonna rain a lot less in about 30 minutes, but it doesn't really say that it's gonna stop raining. Less rain to me only means that it's just not gonna continuously rain, so that at one other point you're gonna get flooding. So that is a good advantage for everyone on track. Nürburgring, in all other hands, does look phenomenally beautiful. Let's see if I can get a bit of a capture moment here. As we look far ahead of the track, of course, this is the famous left-right-hander going all the way down to the hairpin down there, which we can see on that end. Guys are still warming up, and of course going up, whoops, after the S's now. That is the Schumacher races down there, leveling it quite out. Very wet, cloudy conditions this evening. I don't see any realistic change that this might do. A bit of light clouds on the other end of the circuit. As we go up to the Yule, that is about the closest we can see. As we go back to where the action is, individuals getting ready. What I would say is going to be an eventful 45 minutes. Now I'm hoping it's going to be all good and well, clear, done and dusted. No issues for any incidents. We do have live stewarding this evening, which is great as opposed to what we've had in the past a couple of time frames, no stewarding. So this evening is going to be a bit of a stewarding session. A little bit of work over here before we line up. Of course, they're coming down the start race. Anyone on stream? Any hellos? Should I say any goodbyes? JJVDM. Welcome. Haven't seen you in a bit, man. Hope you're doing well. It has been a while. Steven Kernick, on the other hand, is starting from a pit stop. Now that's going to be quite interesting for him. He is stuck right there in the pit stop, hoping that he can get off the line as quickly as he can. These boys going side by side, getting ready for the start of the race. Down the hairpin is where it's going to stick it through. So corner 1, 2 and 3 is where it gets quite difficult at this spot. Being a wet race, the viewpoints for these guys is going to be quite dangerous. Christian de Poy looks like he's got a good start. He is being chased down by 2 Porsches who would have a better straight line speed than him. Do they all leave enough space going into the corner? Yes. De Poy looks like he got a great start though, and so did Alan Patterson. Somehow snuck it in there in 3rd place. Managed to capitalize there on, it looks like Bauer going very slight at the moment. Oh, tried to capture it but missed it out. Tires just to call Bauer out in the mix. Recipe for his own disaster. All these cars have got very slow, well, very cold tires. The grease has not changed that much. Patterson capitalized on his start. Now again, he was far back, I believe. I mean, where did Patterson go? Yeah, Patterson's up by 1. Okay, so not as far back as what I expected. Of course, Bullion there battling it out with Greening. Ashley also in the mix there. He needs to get his tires warmed up. It's all about getting your warmth in your tire to get away from it. Thus far, it just looks like that Burger King sponsored Alpine is phenomenal. Like he's got all the magic in that setup. And this is where it counts. Got the tires warmed up. Knew that he probably doesn't have the fastest car on track, but he certainly has the best setup out of all of them, just based on where we're standing. 43 minutes into the race, the guys haven't even done a lap, and the gaps are spreading. Wilson making headway. Nürburgring just seeing a layer of spray behind him. He's being hunted down, Greening by Bullion, Duplessis, Janeman. So 3 individuals wants to gain time as best they can. Everyone getting through the start-finish line as they head all the way to start up their second lap down the grid. Get your breakpoint side. Ashley goes very slowly though. Nothing really to be concerned about. I just suspect that he wanted to make sure that all is well there. Mole on the other hand, he has got Bauer behind him. Now that's a bit of pressure that he didn't really want. Bauer again sliding same corner as he did before. Let's go back a couple of seconds here. Let's see what this man does. So as he exits the corner, runs very wide, gets on that green turf, and then the car just trails there onto him. I think he needs to be a bit more cautious if he wants to continue the race like that. He, however, is on the back end of Moore. From the qualifying standing positions point of view, Bauer did qualify far ahead of Moore. Takes the inside line. Decides not to dive. Moore gives a bit of space, but just enough to say you can, but please don't. Going into the Schumacher races, all about speed and momentum. As that Porsche have superior momentum and speed versus the McLaren. Present stage, it doesn't look like it, so it's all about setting up your opponent. Wilson, on the other hand, still making headway. He is being chased down by these individuals. That is Neil Bullion looking on the inside. Knows that he probably does not have enough straight line speed for everyone ahead of him. But that car does look far more planted than what it did at the start of the race. Gernick, ooh, big mistake for him. Just where you just don't want it, at the top of the racetrack. Mole and Bauer fighting it out. Bullion in the race. Ooh, that's gonna be a pass for sure. Sticks it on the inside. Is Greening gonna give it to him? Yeah, Greening goes very wide. Doesn't really go aggressively defensive. Kind of opens the door and goes, okay, you can go and let me then chase you, which I don't think is the best approach here. It just eliminates you getting all the spray, and now you've got another individual behind you wanting to pass you. Now, of course, Duplessis had numerous accounts of incidents last week from what I can recall, and I could be wrong. I just recall, please don't shoot the messenger. But he is certainly having a better race this evening. More controlled, focused, zoned, and of course Janeman in his Mercedes looking to gain and capitalize where the individuals ahead of him will make a mistake. With Santos in the mix there. The only BMW this evening doesn't have his counterpart Scotty in the mix, so for him to gain as much as he can, Alan Patterson in third place, quite comfortably sitting there. Meyer with the Porsche doing everything he can in his might to just keep up with the Alpine, who looks like a vastly quick monster. Now Bullion gained another position from Ashley Wilson. How did I miss that? Let's just go back and see where I got that. No, that is far quicker. Far before that. So Ashley must have made a mistake to allow him to drop that much. No Bullion now in 5th place. From a position point of view, this is where he started off with, so he did lose 2 positions at the start of the race. And has now subsequently created a bit of a gap between him and Wilson. Wilson's not going to give it up. He does seem to have quite a bit of pace. Now there is an interesting battle here. There we go. Bauer takes the inside of Mole. Mole wants to fight back. Opens a bit too wide going into the corner there. Of course, he went onto the very wet side of the track. Ooh, as Duplessis and Mole makes big mistakes. Both of them sliding through and through. Mole just couldn't control it. Tagged Bauer right ahead of him. This is something to go and watch for sure. You see where we sit from a helicam point of view. Mole goes very wide. Duplessis goes extremely wide, gets on the grassy green there. So does Mole. Both of them lose it. Ah, Mole was just a passenger in the car. There was just no way he was going to get that car to stop. Bauer, out of nowhere, gets contact by Mole. Nonetheless, it didn't look that severe. Just two individuals that lost the rear end, getting too much of it on the green turf, which would have unsettled that car. Now you can see that Bauer has learned that since the start of the race. He messed it up when it started, got a bit too wide. Lap 2 did the same thing, managed to control the second one, and this time around he just stayed away from it completely, and everyone around him went to touch the curbs, and then that just spilled them all over. So 2 positions lost there by Duplessis. Fairly certain that he is extremely frustrated with him, because he was looking to challenge Janneman in the Mercedes. Now he's got to make it all up, but also focus and be a bit zoned, because he will definitely be a bit unsettled. Beerkes, this is Frankie, Jean-Ray Beerkes. The first time I've seen this man actually in the PCC community racing. Frankie from Pace Motorsports in his BMW, 1 lap down, giving it all beans and sticks here, running good lap times. He is ahead of Kernick, who made a big mistake at the beginning of the race. Everything seems quite settled at the present state. Santos, on the other hand, he's the man that's being chased down by Nel Bullion. Nel Bullion that was freed up from the individuals behind him. This battle is getting vastly closer and tenser as time goes on. I would believe that the Janetta will have more superior speed coming out of the corner. Don't believe that the BMW M4 is that good in the wets though. Anyone that is on stream that knows a bit more than me about these setups and how these cars drive in wet conditions, from recollection, I do not recall that the BMW was that good in the wet. Aston Martin, probably yes. BMW, not so much. As you can see, one small fumble there by Bullion has now created a bit of a bigger gap. Ooh, that's very deep there by De Santos. I will certainly unsettle him for the start of the next lap. But I don't think it phased him by any means. He's just off. Wants to get away from Bullion. Quite a quiet race this evening. Now, of course, we've only got 13 drivers on track. GT4 not that popular from any ACC community. I do wish we could all give it a bit more love than what it gets all the time. Still, well, I would probably say every race in all aspects GT4 to me is the better of the two, purely from commentating, racing, and the abilities that you can actually do door-to-door racing. Like, you can go side by side in many corners with the GT4s. Far more balanced through the corner. Well, balanced is probably a wrong word. You gotta pick one racing line and stick to it. It doesn't really like change though, but as long as you know that there's a car going to be next to you. Ooh, as Greening makes a big mistake, now that's going to open the doors up there for Preyers, Janneman, to take the gap. And then, of course, Bauer, not far behind that, looks at this with a big smile. Opportunity up for grabs. That is not what Greening needed. Bit of a hesitant moment there. Outbraked himself, went too deep. Now he's sandwiched between two individuals that he's been trying to get away from. Probably believe that Bauer would potentially make the move when he has an open gap. Now he's got the speed and momentum down. He's gonna hold back coming through the chicane here. It's a good line though. Greening, unsettled. Like, just doesn't look comfortable at all. Of course, it looks like we've lost an individual. Frankie seems to be the man that has stepped away. From a base point of view, those cars ahead of Bauer is actually quite quick down the start-finish line. Bullion, on the other hand, still behind the Santos. That ought to be watched out as in between these three guys here. Now Greening is fighting for position. Opens the door a bit too much there. Hesitant. Does that allow the Porsche to get a better momentum through the straight? Yes, it does. You can see him hooking it up on the inside line. Greening must know he's there for sure. Cannot go defensive now. Tries to go deep. Too deep for him. Wanted to be the kind individual to leave enough space, but then subsequently went way too deep in the corner. That is, I would go great tactic there by Bauer, ensuring that the guy ahead of you makes the necessary mistake for you to pass him without working too hard. I just think Greening went a bit too deep, misjudged his braking point, thought that Bauer would be on his inner left, and then when he realized he was not there, he was way beyond the turning circle of the apex, missed everything in total, and thus also missed his position. So Bauer released, he's hunting down Janneman. Now Bullion still close to the Santos. Both cars attacking the curbs as they enter and exit the chicane. Slightly deep there by Bullion in the Ginetta, but I reckon he did that on purpose so that he can get as much speed as he can down the start-finish line. This is where he seems to be losing a lot of pace. It's down the straight. BMW just goes far away. Therefore, he needs to make his moves count during the corners. Deep into the corner again. Ginetta just it looks like such a great car. Right-hand drive. Sounds like a beauty. Hey. Ooh. Fix it. Trying something and it's just working completely against me. bit too quick on my mouse movements there. Should slow it down a lot when I do things like that. But this is a battle. Power on the other hand has managed to pass Janneman. See if we can get a glimpse of that. 60 seconds back into the lap there. Nothing wrong at this point. You can see the Porsches gaining momentum by momentum. So the question stands, did Janneman make a mistake a bit deep into that corner? Nothing wrong though, still being very defensive. Porsche looks like he's got a great exit there in that right hand corner. He's going to set it all up into the hairpin here. Of course, this is kind of like a double apex hairpin. Ooh, yeah, that's where there's Janneman just too deep there. Opens the door again. Power. Key principle for him this evening is allow everyone ahead of him to make subtle mistakes. Therefore, he can make the move count. He's now ahead, going to catch Ashley Wilson, and by the looks of it, he is on the rear end of Ashley, so he has made up a bit of time. Santos, on the other hand, and Nürburgring still battling it out. Nyla's has to make a mistake. I reckon he needs to get a bit of tips and tricks there by Bauer. Bauer has made it look so easy since the start of the race. Oh, that's very close. That is rear end close. Santos goes a bit defensive. See how he goes defensive on the corner. Forces Nell to go on the wider circle end, which again unsettles him as he exits the hairpin into the Michael Schumacher end, and he's got 0.2 of a gap, half a second if not more on himself. So Bauer managed to make another position count. I don't know where that happened. And on the apex coming out, Ashley Wilson on the other hand made a big mistake, tried to go a bit defensive, but I don't think there was a very defensive move. Just realized that this is not his battle between himself and Bauer. Opened the door for Bauer to take it and carry on. All about straight line speed there is what I would go for. The Porsche of Ashley was unsettled when it exited that corner, so Bauer, another position made. He is now going to try and hunt down Bullion, who's still fighting it out with the Santos. Start finish straight line, he's all over that rear end. I don't think he's got enough speed. Just look at how this BMW outruns himself. He's in the middle of the track. Ooh, that's a big mistake there by the Santos. Goes too deep. Opens the door there for Bullion. Ah, absolutely unfortunate. Went into the middle of the racetrack trying to be quite defensive, which I still don't think he needed to be. Just purely of straight line speed. Nonetheless, that opened the door for Bullion. Bullion is free. He is going to gain as much of a gap as he can. Front of the grid, the individuals I haven't spoken in a while. Deployed, 24 minutes left of the race. Has, however, set the fastest lap of the race with a 209.5. That Alpine is just phenomenal. Sponsored by Burger King. I mean, the name just makes me hungry. That's kind of where I'm sitting at. He is in a league of his own. 13 seconds ahead of Mayer, who qualified in second place, managed to keep it clean, and all he needs to do is finish strong. Alan Patterson, on the other hand, in third place. Fairly decent gap between himself and Nürburgring with Mayer, so a race on his own, no pressure whatsoever. doesn't really need to do much more than what he is at the present moment. So top 3 boys, potential podium and winner. I've got it in the bag is what I'm going. I mean, they realistically just gotta continue what they do lap by lap. Back off the grid. Wilson trying to stay ahead of Janeman. Good 2-second gap between those two. And I think identical lap times at this moment from 7, 8, 9 and 10 passing through there, because Bullion in the 212s at the present moment. The Santos really struggling. Some of the reason he has gone a bit slower than what he has before. Don't know whether he's a bit unsettled because of one tiny error he has made. But nonetheless, Power has closed the gap between him and the Santos significantly just on that last lap. Like, the Santos did a 2:14.9. That's a high 2-minute 15-ish lap time versus Power that ran a 2:11.2. So in ideal world, that's a 4-second delta of just gaining. And if that continues, momentum-wise, this doesn't seem like it's going to be much of a challenge. But I have faith in that BMW. I know it can do well. Just needs to get back into the zone. But it does look like the Santos is struggling. Now that could be a combination of potential damage, which makes me wonder where it actually occurred, or very low tire pressure, which he is struggling to maintain, which then mitigates him from having enough grip on the track. Because again, this is another 3 seconds slower than what he did on his best lap. Santos can run the same pace as the boys ahead of him, no two ways about it. Just feel that small incident has unsettled him greatly. And again, Nürburgring is a very challenging track, so demanding. Small minor errors here and there will cost you a lot. Thus far, first sector looks good though. Like, he's fairly on point to what he normally runs at, so maybe he needed a bit of pressure just to give him a bit of a shove. Good exit there by him. Power looking at all means of what he can do. Sizing up his opponent. Santos going very, very defensive. Good exit there. Unsettles the Porsche with his exit. They continue going forward. Now, let's go. One bit of a wing view. Helicam between these guys, they are close. BMW Simracing there. See in the mirror is the Porsche. Slow exit there. Don't know why he didn't gear down to second though. Like, he went out of the corner in third gear. maybe that's just a driving style and technique. But a far better lap there by De Santos. As opposed to his last 2 laps now. This is now where Bauer is going to get a bit more aggressive. He has now looked at what his opponent is doing ahead of him. And now he's going to go and search for the gap. Okay, ooh, De Santos deep. This is going to send 2 wide in. He cuts in. Does that give more momentum to the Porsche? Ooh, Bauer slips. De Santos happy with that. Did not want to relinquish that position at all. Took his racing line. Both drivers much respect to one another, allowing each other to have enough space. Again, that unsettled De Santos again. It seems like this man needs pressure. Safe focus going forth. Incidents thus far has been very little this evening. Our stewarding team has been quite quiet, like 2 out of the whole race. That's very nice though, and it was literally just the incident that we saw between car 1 and 44 and 1 and 39, where it's just hard to penalize a driver where his car, he had no control of it, irrespective of what he had. It just continuously slipped forward. This battle is still heading on very, very strong. You wonder when Bauer is going to make the move. BMW under severe pressure there, coming out of the exit. Got a bit of a gap between himself and Bauer. Doesn't necessarily have to go that defensive heading into turn 1. All about braking adequately. Porsche trying to cut back just to get that 2 side-by-side motion. Speed and momentum. Oh, this looks like a brilliant move there by Bauer. Cuts it in on the inside. Can he keep it there? No. Yo. Santos saw that happening. Bauer looking left, looking right. Cuts back again. Ah, that is great driving by these 2 boys. Exciting. It's just like I want to go and see that again. That is just phenomenal helicam drive view. Just look at how close that is. Bauer, brave, sticks his nose in. Ooh, sticks his nose in. De Santos noted that, decided to put his rear end right ahead of that Porsche. Stops his momentum completely. Bauer needs to rethink that again as they still continue. That was phenomenal. That just deserved a replay. And they're still going on. Bauer vastly closer than what he is. He's going to go and try and stick it on the outside. Santos follows the normal racing line though. Cuts him off. Muchos respect with these 2 boys. Porsche has got a good exit. Oh, as they go very, very, very wide. Forces that Porsche off the racing line. He's going to get it stick a bit. Santos and Bauer battling here for position. Unbelievable. I'm loving this. Like, Bauer is doing everything in his power to go far off track, and again not cutting it but far off track, wider than what you would expect on a normal wet condition, to do everything he possibly can. Is he going to do another cut back in? Oh, that was a bit too hard. Not enough though. Again, there's no other real competition out there besides these 2 boys, and I'm literally keeping an eye out on how they drive. I bet everyone wants to know how this is going to evolve. Like, Bauer is going to the extreme. using every curb that he can. And it just feels like he, slides the Porsche. It's like he knows he's got the pace to do that, and he kind of feels like, if I get past this BMW, I will easily gap him. Now, it's fairly easy to catch someone on the track, but to pass someone on Nürburgring is the toughest challenge by far. I reckon if he sticks to it, he can stay with this BMW through the Michael Schumacher races. Both of them have got enough speed. None of them lost much. Power decided not to do it on this corner. I reckon he wants to do it down the straight where he gets all the momentum he can. He's not as close as what he was the previous lap though. So, not this time around. Let's see if we can go and have a look at the Porsche. How hard is he fighting? He goes in deep and then brings it all the way through. That's a 230 for him. Power is fighting the car. He's got the pace he needs now. Maybe he needs to just sit back a little bit, let it evolve. Ashley Wilson on the other hand, he and Janeman matching each other's time scales as they moved on. Duplessis, who missed out on the opportunity, has somehow managed to pass Mole. 7 minutes left of the race. Stephen Koenig still racing strong. And of course, Neil Bullion has slowly closed the gap between himself and Alan Patterson. And there's only about 2 seconds in between these two individuals. The best at the moment is a 2:10 by Neil Bullion. Alan Patterson at 2:11. Of course, he had no one really chasing him down. See where their last lap was. Patterson was about 2 seconds slower than Neil. Of course, all about managing the tires and your setup through the race. But then again, if one is not really challenged, one does not need to push the car as much as he can. Christian Deploy coming down the start finish line, 10 minutes left for him. Team speed car, he is in a league of his own, absolutely league of his own. Mayer also fairly little space between himself. Santos and Bauer on the other hand were battling it out very hard. Bauer has stuck back a little bit. Janeman as well. Slight setback between him. Is taking it a breather, realizing what to do and how to do it, and then getting that momentum back in, chasing your opponent down. Of course, 8th position is quite a good position for racing standards. Keeping an eye out on these 3 guys. So Alan Patterson, Neil Bullion. Potential opportunity there for a battle for race finish, final podium. Cards is on the table. Chris De Santos and Bauer on the other hand, back at it again. This is Bauer. All he did was took a breather, set back a little bit, went refocus, rezone. So all he was doing is potentially frustrating himself. He knows he's got the pace. Came back quite quickly now. He's just got to make him force a mistake. That's kind of all it sits down. Race your race. The Santos on the other hand. Ooh, big tag there. That is just unfortunate. No, that unsettled the nerve a bit. Of course, Bauer not taking that. He is a clean driver. Realized that he made a slight error there. Lets the man back through again. That is absolute class racing through and through. Now, of course, both cars did lose. No, they haven't really lost the position though. They're still fighting it out. I think. Oh, that's Wilson. That's Price. So Janneman and Wilson gained 2 positions. Santos and Bauer has lost 2 positions. Yes, they have. Oh, that's unfortunate. But I am going to compliment this man for what he did by far. Even though there was contact made between 2 cars and it really did not look intentional. It was absolutely accidental. He still turned around the car, slowed down, and allowed the individual to regain that position. I reckon that is star-worthy driving quality there. Now this kind of leads me to these 2 individuals here, fighting it out before the final podium. Now Bullion getting a bit more aggressive than what he was on the previous laps. Of course, the delta between them is less than a second on my telemetries. There she comes down. Of course, this is the area where the Ginetta will be vastly more superior than opposed to the Aston Martin. Apart from straight line speed, Bauer has settled back quite significantly there. Would have expected him to be all over that rear end again. Janneman still comfortable there. Ashley Wilson now in 5th place. Battle's still on. Not a lot, but it is good racing though. Great craftsmanship by drivers. Now, of course, next week we're gonna be here same time, same place. I think I have announced it. So event standings next week, we have 2 sprint races on Alton Park. Still the GT4 Championship, followed by Laguna Seca as the final race on the 9th of May. And then of course we're going to go and scramble our heads back onto it, get a couple of GT3s for a season championship again. So let's hope the event admin individuals have got something up their sleeve. Need to get a bit of live racing there. Then again, only about 4 minutes of racing to go. Question now stands because I don't see anyone on track making any leeway now. Just looking at the map, this is where the cars is at the moment. They're widely spread in between each other. These are the closest battles at the moment. And it is getting closer lap by lap though. So final podium up for grabs. 4 minutes left of the racing. The battle is out. Alan Patterson and Noel Bullion. Penalty being dished out by Bauer for 5 seconds. I think that's purely just for the contact that was made. Spinning out. I think if he continued racing, he would have had a much harsher penalty provided to him. And when I say harsh, and I reckon that would have been at least a 15 to 20 second penalty just for the contact itself. So kindness being shown by the stewarding team there. Avoidable contact is what I would believe it was. Those two boys were icing each other very hard, lap by lap by lap, so absolutely unfortunate. Power in the pits now. That's a bit unusual. He has gone into the pits. Hope that has not unsettled him completely. This battle, on the other hand, has been developing in the final stints of the race. Power has left though. Final 2 minutes. Only battles here. Let's just see if we can get onto that win. That Matt Aston Martin livery there. Where the red just pops out. The Aston Martin just stands out completely. PWSR car. Final lap between these boys. Interior wise, it looks like a close race. So one more to go. Deploy is still the man in control there. Mayer coming through the start finish line, so he's got another lap to do. And these boys have got one more lap to defend. Alan Patterson, the man that needs to defend for the final podium position. And championship up for grab. Still, Neil Bullion regaining as much as he can. Again, doesn't look like he's got straight line speed, so he's got a couple of corners to make it stick. Whether he has the ability to do so, that's the question. Alan Patterson going very deep there. Doesn't seem fairly phased though. Neil had a potential opportunity there, just didn't capitalize on that. Aston Martin making that rear end as wide as he possibly can. Gotta make sure I go to the front of the grid. Yeah, still racing there. These two boys nearly side by side. Oh, Fleming was fun, but not worth it. That's unfortunate, Fleming. To be honest, you raced so good. Big accident there by Neil. Made a huge error there into the hairpin. Mr. Bauer, honestly, you ran a phenomenal race. It was great fun looking at you doing what you did this evening. Still reckon you could have finished well, even with that penalty provided to you, which was, in my humble opinion, no, it finished the race. Very accidental. As the deploy goes through the line, I still have time, so I'm going to go back 15 seconds here. Just catching deploy going through the start finishing line. Can't believe I actually missed that. I was so focused on the chat thing there. That's deploy taking victory. And now we're going to have Mayer crossing the finish line in second place. Now, of course, he is definitely going to be followed there by Alan Patterson in third, who had a good battle there by Bullion in fourth. Bauer would have been up there. I reckon Bauer was the man this evening, potentially, in my humble opinion, driver of the night. With all the passing maneuvers he did, even the struggles he had at the beginning of the race. Ashley Wilson, on the other hand, brings it home in fifth place. And of course, Janeman in sixth. De Santos in seventh. who had a phenomenal race. This man was in all types of battles this evening. Very hard to pass. Neil Greening in 8th, Duplessis with his Aston in 9th, Mole will bring it home in 10th, and then Stephen Kernick taking 11th spot. I truly reckon that was a good race. 45 minutes, probably too long for GT4s, but from where it stands, qualifying points was Duploy dominating the qualifying sessions with Meyer, Bauer, Patterson, and Bullion. And then, of course, a racing point of view, Duploy winning the race from start to finish, chased down by Meyer and Patterson in the podium spot. And then, of course, we have Bullion, Wilson, Prius, Dos Santos, Greening, Duplessis, Mole, Kernick, Bauer, and then Piekes. Great race. Next week, 2 sprint series on GT4s. I think we're probably doing as much as we can from our end on a GT4 championship. Again, car that's not predominantly driven at all. I'm fairly certain everyone can't wait to get back into the GT3 seat. Testing out the new cars, testing out the new physics, and the new tire model, which sounds like quite a bit of fun for everyone out there. From my end point, again, thank you all for the love and support. We'll catch you next week at, of course, Alton Park, same time, same place. Do have a good evening, good night, God bless, goodbye.